What's going on, everybody? My name is Jack Kelly, host of Point to the Spot, a U.S.-based podcast focused on the world of football. Joining me today, as always, is my entirely bonkers, unkempt friend, Reed Hammond. Reed, how are you?
Better now.
And once again, joining the show, a future presidential candidate, Ball for Prez 2020, Andrew Ball. Andrew, can you not stand Donald Trump's America?
No comment to preserve my journalistic objectivity.
But how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. We have had a very, very productive editorial meeting before the pod today. So be looking for that in part 2 of the show when we explain what's going to be happening. But first, let's dive in. This is indeed the midweek pod, and we did indeed have midweek football. You know what that midweek football was? It was the Champions League. We'll start on Tuesday. Juventus won, Porto 0. The old lady going through 3-0 on aggregate. Porto just never really looked into it. Reed, you are the resident Portuguese expert, if you will. What happened to Porto, or was it a matter of Juventus just being too good?
Well, I think it's mostly an issue of Porto not being at home, as so often is the case. Yeah, I don't know. Age.
Also, Maxi Pereira getting a red card doesn't help.
Yeah, no, I had nothing, no hot takes. It was super expected that they would lose.
I think, though, you have to look at Juventus as a candidate to go far in this. I mean, I can see making the final.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you have to expect them to. It's mostly an issue. It's mostly that they can walk their league and just put out the kids during the weekends, and then put out a world-class team come Wednesday.
But I think that people are so used to Juventus being dominant in Serie A that they forget about them when Champions League time comes.
Yeah, they don't take Serie A seriously because some of those teams are good. It's just Juventus are just one of those teams that come along, once every decade. It's kind of like how we saw how Bayern is right now. Just an unbroken death hold on their league. That just leads to some great European play.
Yeah, I think part of Juventus' success is the fact that they walk their league year after year after year. I mean, they're strolling onto their 6th consecutive Serie A title. But nobody really cares because that game was boring. Game that was not boring. Leicester City 2, Sevilla 0. The Foxes go on. How about that? Unbelievable. Wes Morgan and Albrighton grabbing the goals for the Foxes in this one. Andrew, what on God's green earth is happening?
Well, Leicester, they got a bit fortunate at times. Sevilla fluffed a couple pretty good chances that maybe they otherwise should have finished. But, I wasn't actively rooting for Leicester, but happy to see them go through, and they've certainly earned every bit of success that they've gotten in this tournament. They're looking good. I mean, I don't know that I would want to play them in the next round, although they're definitely the easiest option remaining, but they will push, I think, whoever they get, and it will probably be a big side. But, they've been looking for fights for the past year now, so who's to say they can't win another one?
Someone that was looking for fights was Samir Nasri. Reed, Jamie Vardy flop actually deserved the second yellow card. What do you take about this from the former Arsenal man?
I don't know. Ever since he did that thing on Twitter a couple months ago, that it just morphed my perception of him, because he was kind of lighting it up in southern Spain. At the start of the season. He's just kind of a weird guy. I don't understand Samir Nasri, so I can't get in his head to try to pry away what his intentions there were.
Yeah, he did have a good chance to score. Kasper Schmeichel coming up a couple times with some big saves that he has not been making in the Premier League this year, but all he's manages to do in the Champions League. Of course, another penalty save against Sevilla in this match. He had one in their first leg. I think man of both legs has to be Kasper Schmeichel, because without him, the Foxes would have had no chance in this. Anybody want to dispute me on that?
No, he had what he's had 3 penalty saves in the Champions League so far, conceded like what? 1 or 3 at home, conceded 1 goal. Like those stats are insane. Like were he not to be, you know, and playing in Leicester, like those are like soon to be Real Madrid's Kasper Schmeichel Champions League numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, anything about the Danishman turned Englishman? Okay.
Not really. It was a good performance.
I'm getting no's. We'll move on to Wednesday's games then. Atletico de Madrid. Atletico Madrid hosting Bayer Leverkusen. This match finished 0-0. I don't think there's much to talk about in this game besides the Oblak triple save. Reed will get the audio into the pod here so that you can hear what that sounds like. So let's take a listen right now.
Scintillizing stuff. Scintillizing. No, and this is kind of more of the same for Bayer Leverkusen, where they just can't get it done away in the Champions League. It's super weird because they're a decent side, and like Chicho even tried to get some more aerodynamics by shaving his head, but that didn't even help. It's like he put it all out for the Lion.
Yeah, I think that Atletico did go through and deserved to go through. Surprised that Leverkusen didn't put up more of a fight, though. Then again, they have been struggling a lot in the Bundesliga this year. Andrew, it always seems to come up when we talk to Leverkusen. Will Chicharito be wearing an LAFC jersey next season?
I don't think so. I think he's coming stateside, although maybe that's a little wishful thinking. But I don't see him sticking around in Germany next year, that's for sure. And I think LAFC is the most likely destination for him, probably with a loan potentially back to Mexico or somewhere in Europe where he can compete until MLS season starts. But you're right, Jack. This was a disappointing showing from Leverkusen. It's a tricky draw. Atletico are a good side, but also I think that Leverkusen are not having a lot of success in the league right now. And this was a real chance to have a statement of intent as to being a big club. And really, they kind of blew it. They blew that first leg. They kind of let their concentration slip and let in a couple bad goals that otherwise they could have hung around in this one, I think, and maybe grabbed an away goal, grabbed a victory. So, Neverkusen is their nickname in the league because they never win the league. And I think you can perhaps call them quarterfinal Kusen because they never seem to have the real threat to go on in the tournament.
Yeah, and another thing that's super kind of weird about this all is that it's one of those instances where if before the match started you kind of peeked me into the future and showed me what the full-time result would be, I would have been like, yeah, of course. But it's almost like the results do not fully respect the run of play. So if you didn't see any of the matches, you would kind of say like, yeah, of course, Atletico got the job done, but it doesn't fully respect. Bayer Leverkusen played fine. Like they weren't totally played off the pitch in both legs, but at the same time, it's like the results seemed inevitable, especially with this Atletico Madrid side.
I mean, if they had any bit of finishing about them, they could have.
Yeah, this could have been totally different.
Yeah,
which is super crazy.
Oblak's triple save was incredible, but you should bury one of those chances.
Yeah,
or they gave away a stupid penalty kick in the first leg, and then they let Torres grab an 86-minute goal that was kind of like a throwaway at the time, but that's
what I'm trying to say.
Let him get that goal, this tie was completely different.
Yeah. It's almost like the full time result was almost against the run of play, which is super weird. Well, not quite against the run of play, but it was not representative of this tie at all.
Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, I don't think Leverkusen is worth a damn at all. But that's me. I mean, Chicharito is not the same player this year as he was last year. If this side would have lost to Atletico, this year's Atletico would have beaten last year's Leverkusen, I think I would have been a little bit more surprised than I am after this one.
Yeah.
Well, another team that blew the first leg in the Champions League, but did not have a similar fate to Leverkusen and actually came roaring back to victory to advance, that would be Monaco. Downing Manchester City 3-1, 6-6 on aggregate, but Monaco going through on those away goals that are so valuable in the Champions League. Andrew, you are the resident Ligue 1 expert. Monaco's Young Bucks get it done again. What is going on?
I mean, and I said this on the air of when we rounded up the first tie, but you almost thought that Monaco had sort of the upper hand coming in here with the away goals, and given their propensity to strike early, which they did with Mbappe scoring in the 8th minute and then Fabinho doubling that advantage in the 29th. I mean, they just get off so hot and they have the legs to just keep going and going and kind of wear down City. Monaco, I think, can go far in this tournament. They remind me a little bit of even more extreme example of Dortmund a few years ago when they went all the way to the final and had that good, strong, fairly young core of players. And Monaco, I mean, their core is even younger. I mean, Timothy Bakayoko, who scored the winner, is 22. Who scored the winner on yesterday. So, I mean, this to me is a team that is not a fluke, that they can go far. And I'm not just saying that because they handled Spurs in the group stages.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is pretty remarkable. I mean, they're battering PSG in the league, and they're doing better than PSG in the Champions League also. So perhaps there is a new world order in Ligue.
One can only hope. Reed, we'll jump over to you for your thoughts on this. This was Pep Guardiola's pet project. This is what he was brought to Manchester City to do, and resoundingly fell on his face in this instance. Do you think this puts question marks around the Pep project at Manchester City?
The gut reaction is to say yes. To say, of course, it's kind of a similar situation to what Unai Emery's did at PSG. But when you look at it, he's paying for the sins of his fathers. You know what I mean? He's paying for poor management and poor spending from previous managers. Like that back line is almost all 32 plus and John Stones. So to play a super expansive, very decisive, quick, young attacking team like Monaco with that kind of back line, it's almost at a point where the tactics and the management don't matter, where it's just an age thing that there was never a real shout that they were going to win away. And to have this be a 6-6 tie almost backs up everything Pep's doing over there. So I think the ownership needs to kind of take a step back and look at how they played and perhaps not the result and what Pep did with what he had. Despite this team being worth millions when they brought them in, A, those were all overpaying, and B, at this point, they're all super old. So I'm thinking you're going to see a lot of money spent on the back end of that Man City side and some very harsh board meetings with Pep over the summer saying, hey, you really got to kick on this season, especially if we back you like that. But what I want to just touch on with this Monaco team is that I think a super easy comparison to make between Fabinho would be Matt Polster. Some would call him Monaco's Matt Polster, in that he is a jackknife. He can play wherever you want him on the pitch. He's a CDM. He's a ball-playing midfielder. He can play center back if you need him to. He's a decent right back. He is all over the pitch, heartbeat of the team. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
And Andrew, here's a question for you. Obviously, we have the most exciting Final Four teams in the FA Cup that we have had in who knows as long. Tottenham, Chelsea, Manchester City, and Arsenal sets up for one of the best semifinal then final matchups that we are going to see in recent memory. Last year's FA Cup was Palace, West Ham, United. It was not by any means exciting. Do you think that the FA Cup just became a must-win for Guardiola. Do you think he needs to get some sort of silverware in his first season?
I don't think it's a must-win. I mean, I think Reed made a good point that he kind of came in with a bunch of players that are either aging or don't fit his system particularly well. So, like, it's, I think, much too premature to say that, like, anything is a must-win for him, given what he has to work with. But that being said, I mean, I think it boosts his credibility in the offseason in terms of bringing in new players and implementing a system, both with the players, with the board, and with the fans, if he could bring in some silverware. So while I don't think it's a must-win, I think it does solidify kind of that there is a long-term plan in place at Manchester City, and that, you know, that he will find success in the league and in the Champions League, which is obviously why he's there. He's not there to win the FA Cup. But, you know, if you're a City fan, it gives you some hope, I think, going forward.
He splashed the cash for the final third this past summer. Do you think he splashes the cash in the defensive third this summer?
Well, he has to. And I think partially I made this argument back when there was rumors that Aguero was going to go, that, I mean, the median age for the defensive core and even some of their midfield players is like through the roof. I mean, over 30. So, like, that's got to be where the focus is. And I think that means guys like Virgil van Dijk, you know, links between him and City. Unfortunately, some of Spurs' good defensive players, like, those links will not stop. You know, whether those moves will actually happen, who knows? But, like, you know, you're going to see Manchester United linked to every semi-quality defensive player in the world this summer.
Just real quick on that,
City fans.
Real quick on that Van Dijk point, I think Southampton are going to play it beautifully. I think they're going to release some things in the press, get his hype up, play him a lot after he comes back from injury, and they're going to sell City a super expensive injury-prone center back who is not fully fit.
Isn't Virgil van Dijk old too?
No, he's not. He's like in his mid-20s, but
even if he was old, would that stop City? No.
No, yeah, exactly. He had a bit of an injury problem, I remember, at Celtic, and then he came over here, and now it's like he's out for a couple months with that knee thing. And they're going to play him. They're going to play him immediately, and he's going to just bring a moral backbone back to the – or not more, like he's going to help with the morale of the team, and you'll definitely see it result in some better results, I would assume. And then they're going to play it well in the press. This is what Southampton thrive off, and they're going to sell City a bad product and just cash out on it. Because I think he's not coming back from this injury anywhere near the levels that he was playing before. And I think City are not going to care, and they're going to buy the name, and that's going to be it. And, then the cycle repeats.
And there you have it. That does conclude our wrap-up of this week's Champions League games. Stick around for part 2 of the show, guys, when we are sharing a very special Point to the Spot announcement and event. And we'll also hear from me about the best thing that I've seen today. So enjoy the music. We're going to have a pretty abbreviated second half of this show.
Also, FA Cup. Is it too late to do anything with that?
What do you mean?
It's Chelsea.
Do like a proper dive. Hold on. Jack, let's do this. Let's have you. Can you run another outro, and I'll cut that out. I'll cut the first part out and say we're going to come into we're going to take a closer look at the FA Cup matches, and that'll be, a quick 10-minute segment, and then we'll do a quick 5-minute segment on
we don't have to do FA Cup. I just forgot.
Well, no, I think we should, because otherwise it's going to be a really quick pod.
I mean,
and those are
we
really
just talked for
matches.
like 25 minutes.
Okay, whatever. That's fine.
I don't know. The Cup is kind of like old news because we talked about it on the weekend edition.
That's true. Okay, you're right.
That's fair.
Yeah. So we're going to come back, and Reed is going to do our intro about the bar fight. Pressure's on, and we're back in 5, 4, 3.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the second half of the show with a massive Point at the Spot announcement. I love a good Twitter poll. I love a good bar fight. I wanted to bring them together. I pitched to management. We spent 45 minutes in an editorial meeting, seating players, seating media personality, seating managers. And we've come together with this beautiful project that we will be posting on our Twitter. It's going to be a March Madness-esque point to the spot bar fight challenge, pitting your favorite media personalities, supporter groups, players and managers against each other in these hypothetical bar fights. And these results will not be determined by real bar fights. We don't have the budget to get Jose Mourinho to get in a fight with Jamie Vardy, but the dream is one day we will. But we're going to leave it to you on Twitter. And we're going to do our very best to post them in line with the actual March Madness games, add a little bit of fun there. And you guys are going to decide who comes out of this champions. We have some really great talent in this year's tournament, and I think you guys are going to love it. Andrew, Jack, do you guys have anything to add?
I will say, legal's in my ear. We need to add this disclaimer in here. No one associated with Point to the Spot Media Corporation or any of our affiliates in any way endorses violence, drinking, or really just violence or drinking. So do not try this at home, kids. But that being said, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Also, nobody affiliated with Point to the Spot Media Company supports domestic violence or violence against women, because we do have a couple of ladies that made the bracket.
And I also have legal in my ear with a quick plea to Domino's. Domino's, you still have time to sponsor this tournament. It's, I would say, about going to draw the same attention as League Two does. So you're getting your bang for your buck.
I mean, Domino's, we're going to call it the Domino's League Two, or we're going to call it the Point to the Spot Bar Fight Challenge presented by Domino's League Two, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So
you're not going to stop us. You might as well pay
us.
us. Yeah. That's what we're trying to get at.
Yeah, guys. So basically how we're going to do this is that Reed, our Twitter maestro, will get out there on the socials. We'll post a more formal set of the rules in a bit of a Twitter thread, and then all 32 games from the first round, 16 from the second, 8-4, then on to the national bar fight championship, if you will. We'll post them in one big, long, consecutive feed. In theory, this is supposed to make it easier for you guys. So if you just click on to the tweet, finding our rules, we'll make sure that we pin it to the top of our profile. You'll be able to scroll through and vote in all of these matchups. We really, really encourage you to engage in this, retweeting it, tagging people. The more voters, the better, because we really want to know what you guys think. We want to know who you think would win the Point to the Spot Bar Fight Bracket Challenge presented by Domino's League 2. And that'll be coming at you today, starting today, Thursday, immediately after publication of the podcast. So stay tuned for that. We have some great characters. And I think that the three of us are very excited.
Mm-hmm. This may be our best project yet.
And we are going to be keeping score to see which one of the three of us actually ends up being the bracket challenge winner.
And by that meaning, which one of us gets the most amount of votes in our first round loss?
Yeah. Yeah, we will. We'll do our very best to post the main bracket. We're gonna try to have a master bracket. You guys can print it out, fill it out at home if you would like. I know I will be. And yeah, I think that's all our bases covered.
Yeah, I think it was good. I think that brings us to the part of the show where I tell you guys about the best thing that I've seen today. Is that indeed the part of the show that we have arrived at, Andrew?
It is indeed.
All right. So first off, let's apologize. A little bit of an abbreviated podcast today. However, be looking out on Saturday for a very special edition of Point to the Spot. We're going to have a full-length interview pod with Reed, fix it in post. Keep your look. Fix it in post. Keep a lookout for Saturday. We are going to have a very special edition of Point to the Spot coming out. It'll be a full-length interview. I'm not going to say anything else about it, so make sure you guys are watching for that. Of course, we will make sure to share it on our Twitter. But best thing that I have seen today, this was tough. This was really tough. But this morning I woke up. And I was in a panic because I thought I was late, and then I realized the clock in my bedroom was messed up because of daylight savings time. And so I turned on my I turned on my computer, and I was just trolling through the internet. and I found a beautiful, beautiful thing. Y'all, I have no idea what the best thing I saw today was. It's only noon.
You can tout your hot time story.
Yeah.
All right. We're just going to redo this.
Yeah, redo all of this. This is
Read
like
this whole
shit, dude.
part. Yeah, it's not good. Okay, so after we're done with the bar fight thing, I'm just going to restart from there, okay?
Okay.
First and foremost, guys, let me apologize. It is going to be a bit of an abbreviated podcast today. Scheduling conflicts do indeed happen for us here at Point to the Spot Media Corporation. However, with that in mind, we are going to be making up for it. On Saturday, we are going to be releasing a special edition of Point to the Spot. You'll be able to find it on iTunes and on SoundCloud. It is going to be a long-form interview that we did with a certain individual who I'm not going to name. So make sure that you check it out on Saturday when it gets published. So you're prepared for that. Now we're at the part of the show where I tell you about the best thing that I've seen today. And the best thing that I've seen today is actually something that I did myself. And I don't want to blow smoke up my own ass, but I wrote a story for my beloved Hot Time in Old Town, the Chicago-centric blog about Chicago soccer for SB Nation. And sticking to the theme of March Madness, I pitted the best 16 Chicago Fire players against one another in bracket form to determine who's going to be the Fire's best player in 2017. You can check that out on Twitter. I've shared it. I'm pretty sure the Point to the Spot Twitter has shared it. I'll make sure the link gets into the show notes. Reed will take care of that for you guys. And I think that's all I have. I know Reed did read my bracket breakdown of the CF97 players, and he had some discrepancies with my picks. I would love to hear your picks if I messed anything up. And I think that's all the time that we have for today's show, guys. So thank you all very much for listening. Again, make sure you're watching out for the Point to the Spot Bar Fight Bracket Challenge. It's going to be kicking off today on Twitter. You will be able to find it. And make sure it doesn't get drowned. Make sure you're retweeting it, sharing it, tagging people that need to be looking at it. You can find that all on our Twitter at Point to the Spot with the number 2 in there. Reed, where can they find you on the social, as we like to refer to it?
At that one kid Reed.
And Andrew, where can they find you on Twitter?
At Andrew Ball, BAHL.
Of course, guys, you can find me at Actual Jack Kelly. I am actually Jack Kelly after all. Make sure you check out our partners, American EPL Thoughts. You can find them on Twitter at American EPL. You can also find them online at AmericanEPLThoughts.com. They do a lot of great work over there. And if you're sick of listening to us talk, go over there and you can indulge yourself in some lovely words on their website. For now, though, that's all the time that we have. Thank you all very much for listening, and we can't wait to discuss the first round of the Bar Fight Bracket Challenge, to discuss those results come the Sunday edition of the podcast. So until then, take care and have a great rest of the week.